Welcome to Overdrive AF, the official podcast of Overdrive Fitness. My name is Teddy Gurzon, and I'm joined by Gina Marie Gurzon.
Happy Saturday, or whatever day you end up listening to this.
And as always with us, Destroyer.
What's up?
And today we are not joined by the dogs, Titan and Brajol. They decided to stay home because it was not even 25 degrees this morning in New York in March when I went to go get them ready for work. So
That shut them down.
yeah, they're like, nah,
Sleeping in.
we don't do weekends. We don't do cold weekends.
Fair.
So they are home. There are some gym cats walking around, maybe like 3, but I don't know where they are.
Actually,
Yeah, a lot of them are outside. They're trying to enjoy the weather,
Fed him early.
the sunlight, I should say.
Yes.
So yeah, here we are. I don't know how many weeks we are into Lent, but shows how great of a Catholic I am.
Reformed Catholic shout out.
What's up?
Former Catholic shout out.
Yeah. But
Well, you should be in a pretty good mood. You're post refeed
yeah.
in your cut, so you should be in a pretty good mood right now.
I mean, as far as being loaded up on carbs, yes, I'm definitely in a great mood.
And calories. I mean,
Yeah.
What was included in this week's refeed?
You'd be proud, Des.
All right, so breakfast was normal.
Okay.
I had 12 ounces of muscle egg, a cup of oatmeal, blueberries, and banana. For lunch, I had a cup of rice, 4-ounce chicken thigh, and vegetables
As your appetizer.
as an appetizer.
Okay. Sorry.
And then I had a Chicago-style deep dish spinach pizza for my entree. That was 1,600 calories.
Nice.
My afternoon snack, which I don't normally have that often, anymore at least, because I have larger meals to keep myself full. Yeah, that could be another great topic. Smaller meals or bigger, like 6 meals or 3 meals a day, which is better. But anyway, so my snack was I got a coffee roll and a chocolate frosted donut with sprinkles from Dunkin' Donuts. Then I had 2 cups of Cinnamon Toast Crunch right after that.
The only cereal.
Yeah. Well, that and Cookie Crisp are my top 2. And neither one of them are number 2. Then what did I have for dinner?
We
Oh,
had fish.
I had halibut. No. I had swordfish. I had like 5 ounces of swordfish, a cup of rice,
Lots of veggies.
lots of veggies, and this awesome challah roll. This company Zadie's. It's literally drugs. It's tough to only have one. So what I do is usually like I take the one out of the bag and I hide the bag. If you leave that whole bag in front of me, I'll eat the whole fucking bag. And then I had an eighth of my pie plate of brownies, my brownie cookie mix, and that was my 4,200 calorie day. Yeah, it was.
Pretty decadent as well.
I didn't think I was gonna get through the pizza. Like after I had my lunch appetizer, I was like, this ain't happening. And the next thing you know, because like if you've ever eaten a deep dish pizza, you can't just like pick it up and eat it. Like you have to fork it a little bit. So next thing you know, I'm stabbing it and I'm like, there's not much pizza left.
Oh,
Because I was like, I guess I'm doing this.
You owned the refeed.
I'm actually hungry now that we're just talking about it. Fuck.
Of course.
So anyway, yeah, the refeed was dope. Definitely put me in a better mood. But one thing that's not keeping me in the greatest mood is the fact that, a lot of our high school athletes, even our college athletes, are heading into their abbreviated seasons due to this pandemic that we're in. And their coaches are making them do absurd amounts of conditioning to whip them into shape or to make them faster. And to like quote unquote make them faster is, you don't do conditioning to make someone faster. Let's just start off with that. okay? Because there's a guy, Russian scientist, Vladimir Isharin. Pretty sure he was Russian. I know he's from the Soviet bloc era. But anyway, he put this table out, which a lot of strength conditioning coaches will reference when they're designing programs, and it's a residual training effect chart. All right, and just to not go crazy into it, because a little unnecessary for this episode at least. But as far as like the aerobic system, the oxidative system, right? Once someone is in a decent to good aerobic state, it only needs to be worked on every 30 days. At most 35 days, at least 25 days, but give or take 30 days, right? So it's not something that you need to, it's not necessary once your athletes are in shape to condition them super hard with like 110s, 300s, 400-meter repeats, and fucking 800-meter repeats. I'm not even talking about track. That's a thing that's cracking me up even more. It's like we're talking like lacrosse, football, soccer, baseball, running poles, softball, miles.
Upon miles.
For a sport that like you do one explosive movement and you may stand around for another 2 minutes. So
And the coaches are standing there with their arms folded, like expecting this too. I know.
So yeah, it just drives me crazy because like I'm all for getting people into shape, right? Obviously, like, and then what kind of fucking business would I be running? Would we be running if that wasn't the case? But once it's developed, leave it. Move on to the higher priority things. Like, I don't care what sport it is, speed kills. It always pays off to be the fastest. All right? You're never going to win a game because you were the slowest. Right? Or at least most team sports. But when it comes to that, right, developing speed, speed is something that needs to be like that anaerobic power. In most cases, needs to be worked like once a week. All right, now to really improve speed, like your sprinting ability, let's say, or anything like super explosive for like less than 5 to 7 seconds, or 7 seconds of like high intensity output. It needs to be worked on once a week, but it also needs to be allowed a lot of rest and recovery. So if you want to, let's say you're training for a baseball showcase or just baseball in general, but you have to get your 60 time down, right? Don't go and run 10 60s with a minute rest, right? No one's going to benefit from that. Maybe you'll have one great workout, but if you do that weekly, you're not going to improve, all right? That's why what we'll do is, like, for instance, we have our athletes run a 10-yard fly. I know most track teams would do like a 10-meter fly, but for the sake of what I have to measure stuff in the parking lot, we keep it in the American standard system, right? Because we're in America, all right? And in America, there's only 2 types of people that use a metric system. The ones that haven't landed on the moon, and drug dealers. So, we will stick to the standard system. All right?
Stop making so much noise.
Yeah, no, that was definitely...
Desi's gonna kick your butt.
Definitely threw off the podcast right there, that clink. I self-clinked with my coffee. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to get faster, if you want your athletes to get faster, coaches out there listening, stop having them run these absurd amounts of sprints with very little rest, right? And if you think it's getting them faster, then time them, chart it all, and look at the data, right? Because every coach looks at their stats at the end of a game or a season or a week or a day or whatever it is, and you'll be like, oh, well, we lost this game because we didn't control the ground balls. We had more turnovers than the other team, right? You know, we won because we out-rebounded them. Like, the same thing goes for training. You need to monitor your athlete's output, right? If they're shot after 3 60-yard sprints, that makes sense. Don't have them run fucking 12, okay? You need to separate. People need to separate they need to separate sprinting, like getting fast, and conditioning. Those are two different things. They both need to be worked on, right? But for instance, like if you want to get more technical, like most conditioning workouts, you can even consider like a lactate workout, right?
Yes.
That doesn't need to be done every fucking day, once a week at most. But that's also in the place of adding that in, like in the same as like if you had a game that week, right? So they'd have to be several days apart from each other. You don't even have to sprint like at 100% effort every day either. That can be done 2 to 3 times a week, right? Tony Holler uses the feed the cats approach, right? A lot of people are adopting that, right? We've started to feed that into our athletes, microdosing the sprints, which, you know, I inadvertently started doing with them a couple months ago, but now I'm pulling it back even more, and we're seeing huge gains, right? Because let's think about it this way. If it took only 20 hours a week for 10 years of work to make $1 million, would you do it, or would you still be working 80-hour work weeks? Like, no, you're going to use the minimal effective dose. So when it comes to sprinting, you don't need to go crazy with all this other shit. And there's plenty of different reasons why some people just aren't fast. And then, you know, the easiest thing to tackle is, you know, how much you're taxing the central nervous system. So, I mean, I don't know. It's we can keep going down this rabbit hole. It's just absolutely pissing me off that for some reason we still have coaches that would think like, oh, you know, we lost the game because we were out of shape, so let's do 1,000 burpees. Like, there isn't a burpee that's ever been done in the world that cost you a fucking game, right? Chances are it was something like getting out rebounded, not controlling the ground balls and the cross, you know, base running errors in baseball and softball. You know, it's like you could come down to almost any technical aspect of every game. That's usually why you lost. Like, you didn't lose because you only ran 8 miles twice a week for fucking baseball. It's
3 S's: strength, speed, skills.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
So at the end of the day, if you want faster athletes, stop destroying their bodies. Am I guilty of it? I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I'm not a hypocrite. Yes, I've run athletes to the ground when I was coaching football, right? But I also knew that there was no benefit to that. Like, I know you really shouldn't. Like, some people say, like, shouldn't use conditioning as a form of punishment. Well, when you start running out of options as to, like, what you need to do to send a message, and kids don't care about losing or winning even, right? Then they need something to feel like crap if losing doesn't make them feel like crap. So I would always say, like, all right, fine, you want to be a smart ass? Here's some gassers. Or a new one I made up, which is called gospels, which are worse than gassers.
Hit it.
No, we're not going to go over it. It's too long to describe.
You don't want to give away your
My
secrets.
God.
No, all right, I'll
You
describe
guys
it, but,
all
like,
hyped
if you
up.
want to. So a gasser, a lot of people consider gassers in football just like a 40 or 50-yard wind sprint, right? At Nanuet, what we would do was we'd start on the sideline. So you'd go, it was basically a suicide, the width of the field. So sideline to hash and back, and then to far hash and back, and the sideline and back, and that's 1. We'd usually run 3, right? Coach Conklin used to give us a time of, like, usually about 45 seconds to beat, sometimes less if he was really pissed. Sometimes he gave us numbers that he knew we wouldn't make, just to piss us off, like just to really send a message. And trust me, message was received clearly. You also never wanted to be the pussy that quit after that either. So I made up something called Gospels, which was essentially the same thing, but it was sideline to hash and back to far hash to near hash to sideline to far hash to sideline and back, and that was one. So I would have people run like 3 to 5 of those. But, that was usually because I was pissed off, and, for people that didn't come to summer workouts, well, I mean, like 2 people would show up for an entire football team, or nobody wanted to work out, or people would skip defensive days every week for an unofficial college visit. By the way, I'm pretty sure you only get 3 college visits a year. So any athletes listening to this or parents that think coaches are stupid, we know that your kid doesn't have 15 college visits. Let's just keep that in mind. Conditioning is a form of corporal punishment. I don't think I'll ever stray away from that. But I'll never deny the fact that, I'll never debate the fact that if you actually want faster teams, you need to separate the sprinting from conditioning. So maybe that form of corporal punishment is cut down to 1 day, halfway between games. So like, let's say you only play on Saturdays, maybe that happens on Tuesdays. Give them enough rest for a Saturday, right? Or maybe Wednesday at the latest. But you definitely don't do it on a Friday and expect them to have high output on game day on a Saturday.
We have, that's one story that I know we've told on the podcast in the past, where one of our college athletes, she lost literally, and she's tall, very tall, but that's what one of the coaches was doing there, was she literally ran her team to the ground. The girl lost 30 pounds in the season, and remember, she'd run them to the ground and then have them play the next day, and they'd be beyond exhausted. And then the coach would wonder why they all played like shit, and they were all getting sick, and they were getting injured too. Yeah,
she was like, "You guys are fucking tired all the time. What's wrong with you?" It's like,
hello?
There's nothing wrong with them.
And she's not the only one. There's plenty of athletes that we get these similar stories.
Their bodies, there's nothing wrong with those girls. The girls' bodies reacted exactly how you would expect them to when you treat them that way. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Horrible.
It's like always running out of gas in your car and then being like, why can't I go anywhere?
Why does the engine keep seizing?
Oh, man. Yeah, because I actually tweeted about this the other day, and I wanted to make like a tweet about like ranting about this, but at the same time, like, given the time of year, Catholic related. So I said, want to be a faster and more explosive Catholic? Give up the following for Lent: foul poles, 300-yard shuttles, gassers, burpees, and mile cooldowns. Which is that also cracks me up. You'll have a 100, 200-meter sprinter running a fucking 3-mile cooldown at the end of their track practice.
Oh my God.
And then, but I don't want to be completely negative, so what could you do instead? Well, you sprint for speed. Sprint with the intent to actually recover, nearly fully recover between sets, or fully recover, right? If you lift, don't just lift for maximal strength, right? Don't lift to aim to hit like a 500-pound squat that takes 7 seconds to get it up out of the hole, right? You got to lift with violent intent and to move heavy things super fast, right? If it's not moving fast, then you're training to be slow, regardless how strong you are. Because if it were true, all the strongest people in the world, if strength was the reason why was the thing that you need to improve the most to become a great athlete, then that means that every person in the world's strongman competitions or any of the best powerlifters in the world would all be jumping 60 inches vertically. They'd all be running 4.240s, and that's not the case. So you need to improve strength and power for your sport. And then plenty of sleep, rest, and recovery.
Huge.
Right? That can't be stressed enough. And I specifically said those three. Sleep. You need a lot of sleep. Rest. Rest your central nervous system. Don't do things on an off day that you're not supposed to be doing. And recovery. Same as rest. Allow yourself to actually recover. So if that means give your central nervous system some time off, maybe don't fucking spend 12 hours playing Call of Duty on a day off. Something that's not going to get you going.
Your brain
Mm-hmm.
is a very large part of your central nervous system. Your brain and your spinal cord.
And then eating whole foods.
Oh.
That's kind of a big deal.
I mean, nutrition, you can't even...
we
that's
went
right up there.
we went over my refeed at the beginning of this episode, but that was a refeed. That was
But
one
that's
time.
also, that could
wasn't
also
every
be
day.
part of your recovery.
Yes.
If you're grinding away in a sense and you're being really specific and strict to your goal, and even as an athlete, if you're eating very, very well and getting, following that 80-20 rule, and it's, you're getting in all of your whole foods, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, lots of veggies and fruits, right? All different
Mm-hmm.
types of proteins, fish and chicken and things like that. And whatever the case, whatever type of eater you are, sometimes your body actually needs a break from all of the good. And if we bring in some cereal, or if we bring in some pancakes, or if we bring in, a little bit of ice cream, or that resets you in a sense, where that psychologically resets you, and that's part of your rest and recovery too.
Speaking of pancakes, I saw something the other day that I want to try. It's a French toast waffle pancake.
Oh my.
Yeah, so somebody made
So that you
the
don't
waffle.
have to choose.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yes.
choose.
Exactly. So you make the
Woo.
waffle, right? You make the waffle in the waffle maker. Then they put a pancake and they made a pancake and they put the waffle on top of the pancake. And then they dipped that into the French toast mix. And then they made that French toast. It looked actually awesome. Some things I see, I'm just like, should never be combined. But I think that's a pretty good mix. I think that one would be pretty solid. I would like to try that.
Yeah.
So
Cinnamon swirl, you said? Is that what you said? Cinnamon swirl?
I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking it.
Oh, well, there we go. That's the new one. Oh, maybe I'm still on the coffee roll you had from yesterday morning.
That coffee roll went down too fast.
Yesterday afternoon.
I'm so upset about that. But
So you gotta chew your food,
I did.
like process it, and not just inhale. Goes back to our dating days. It was the inhaling, and
I still eat
that
fast.
was you enjoying that?
That's how I enjoy things. So
Just to go and stop.
So yeah, want to get fast? Separate your sprinting from conditioning, right? Make sure you know what you want your athletes doing. If you want them to get in shape, then get them in shape. But once they're in shape, you don't need to keep whipping them in shape every day, right? If you want them to get faster, the focus should be on speed, right? I forget who said it, but they said something like, it was a coach of some sort. He said something like, I'd rather have my players 80% out of shape, not 80% in shape, but 100% healthy during a game, as opposed to 100% in shape, but 80% healthy. Because weak things break. So, whatever. Before we shut this down, give us a weekly update on your progress.
Right. This weigh-in was pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. I was back up to the highest in lean muscle mass I've ever been, and got to a new low point in body fat percentage.
What's up?
I'll take it.
Yes, sir.
Tanks and thong season's
Yep,
come up.
That's it.
I'll be ready.
Shirts and skins. Dad's gonna be the skins.
Yeah.
Shorts and skins.
Hey. That's a whole other episode.
That's premium content. That's gonna cost you $10 a month.
That's the only
The
fans.
only
Nice, Des.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Going well.
And it's starting to heat up. So what does that mean? More mileage for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've just about had it with sitting inside at this point. So even if it's cold, I'm going out and getting
Good.
my miles in. So this week so far, I've hit 18 miles.
Saw that.
And I'm hoping to work in at least a few more today. So
And you got a few days of good weather coming your way
yeah,
too
so
next week.
yeah, I'm ready for the 60-degree days next week. Though
Definitely.
maybe hitting some new lows on the actual time.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the new shoes? Did you get new shoes yet?
Not yet. Still
Okay.
rocking with the same old shoes with the you can't really see the pattern of the soles anymore.
Running
Well
bald.
used.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get some good use out of them.
totally.
Gotta get your money's worth with those.
It's all good.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add this week?
No, I think that was good. We covered.
Got it off
Got
my
it-
chest.
Yeah, you got it off your chest. You got it off your chest. Enough of hearing it from everybody.
Another Catholic thing. It's like confession.
Yes.
Yes, this is true. We had our fish last night too. My parents would be proud.
If you choose not to separate your sprinting and conditioning, God will forgive you.
God will forgive you, but I don't know about your team.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. You'll never be forgiven for being a loser about it.
And
but,
especially if your coach doesn't know what the hell they're doing, then
yeah, your boss may not be forgiving. Your athletic director, they may fire you for having a losing team, but God will forgive you. So
there's no judgment.
from
In the
God
eyes
at least.
In the eyes of the Lord.
From your employer, yes. So yeah, that is that for this week. This episode of Overdrive AF. Tune in next week for another episode of Overdrive Fitness Podcast. Overdrive AF.